5 ocean crossings, 3 transatlantics, 2 transpacifics, and if you told us before sailing number 1 what we actually know now, a few things would have gone very differently. This video is everything we wish we had known before that very first sailing, the practical stuff, the nobody puts this in the brochure stuff, and the honest answer to the question we get most, is an ocean crossing actually right for me?
Hi, I'm Doug, this is Leah, and we're Go Travel Life. So let's start with the frame because everything in this video depends on it. An ocean crossing is not a Caribbean cruise with extra sea days.
That's right. On a Caribbean sailing, sea days are fillers between the ports. On a crossing, the sea day is the itinerary. You can have 4, 5, 6. We had 7 sea days on our cruise from Seattle to Japan. So it's 7 consecutive days with nothing but water in every direction. No shoreline, no port town, no horizon, just whatever you make of it.
And here's what most people don't expect. It's exceptional.
The passenger profile on a crossing is different. There's fewer families with small children. There's more experienced cruisers, retired couples, solo adventurers. People have been to the usual places and they're looking for something different. The energy on board shifts. It's unhurried in a way that's distinctly unlike any other format we've sailed.
Yeah, brunch on a crossing can take sometimes 3 hours.
We've been there, done that. Then no one has port excursions to race to. So now a term that we just want you to understand before we go further, and that is repositioning cruise. Ships don't typically live in one place year round. A ship that runs Caribbean itineraries all winter usually needs to be back in the Mediterranean by May for summer sailings. The voyage between these two home ports, the transit, is a repositioning cruise. And because far fewer people specifically search for these sailings, they're often priced at a very good deal.
Yeah, not all crossings are repositioning. We did one from Hawaii to French Polynesia that was 4 days, but it was a scheduled cruise that happened a couple times a year.
And those are called point to point.
Yeah.
So next, we're going to review our 5 actual sailings, every one of them, including the one we probably wouldn't do again. That's next.
Let's go through all 5. Our very first transatlantic was on the Celebrity Edge, Florida to Rome in April.
All right, so here's the honest answer on this one. This is a sailing we probably wouldn't repeat. Not because anything went wrong, not because of the ship, but because of clocks.
Yeah, the clocks.
Crossing east from the Americas towards Europe means that your shipboard time moves forward 1 hour a day, 5 days in a row. But the detail that matters, the ship adjusts the clocks, but not the service schedule. So breakfast is still served at the same time in the daily program. So what changes is your body thinks it's an hour earlier than the clock says, and that compounds daily. So by day 4, we could see it on people's faces in the dining room. It was just a low-level grumpiness nobody could fully explain, but everybody was feeling.
Yeah, it was a very specific kind of tired.
Yeah. So if you're a fast adjuster who travels across time zones regularly, this is going to be absolutely manageable. But if you're the kind of person who feels the 1 hour daylight savings time change, just be prepared for it.
Yeah, one more note. April arrivals in Greece means cooler weather. This is not a Mediterranean summer situation. If you're picturing sundresses at a harbor, pick up a jacket too.
Yeah.
Sailing 2 was the Sun Princess, September, Southampton, heading west, back to Fort Lauderdale.
So westbound crossings are a little kinder on the body. Your clock moves back 1 hour per day, not forward, to actually gain time instead of losing it.
Yeah, gain was definitely a better situation.
So this one has a story though. So a hurricane was sitting directly over Florida when we arrived at our destination. So rather than sailing into it, the Sun Princess held position near Cuba for 2 additional days, waiting for clearance.
Yeah, 2 unplanned sea days in calm waters next to Cuba. Not too bad.
Was this inconvenient on paper? Yes. In practice, it was 2 extra days on a ship we were already happy with. But here's the thing, and we will say this once and mean it for all crossings to describe. If you are going to do an ocean crossing, you need to be a flexible traveler. Weather changes the plan, routes shift, ports disappear. That is not a flaw in the format. It is a condition of the format.
Yeah, if a couple extra days at sea is a problem for you, then maybe the crossing isn't a good fit for you.
Yeah. So coming up, A sailing that outran 2 hurricanes and ended with 2 of our favorite days on the ship. Sailing number 3.
Okay, this is the itinerary we get asked about most. It was Southampton to New York, but a northern route. So it stopped in Ireland, Scotland, then across to Canada, down the east seaboard.
So the sea day count was lower than the traditional transatlantic. There's only 3 days of open ocean, which is really nice to reach Canada, then port days as we worked our way south. What we didn't plan for on this one was fog. Consistent, thick North Atlantic fog for multiple consecutive days. It was not dramatic, it was just present.
Yeah, you couldn't really see but a couple hundred feet in front of you. And then a second weather situation.
So an early season hurricane tracking up the US coast, the ship rerouted to outrun it. So Bar Harbor was skipped, Boston was skipped. We pushed hard for New York ahead of the original schedule. But here's how it ended. We arrived early, the storm tracked away from the city, and we spent the last 2 days of the cruise docked in the heart of Manhattan. Hudson River views, the skyline sitting right outside the cabin window.
Yeah, it was worth every bit of that fog.
Ship pace, yeah.
Our first Transpacific, and an important note before we begin. This is a scheduled point-to-point sailing, Honolulu to Tahiti and French Polynesia. 4 days at sea, we sailed in August.
So a timing note for anyone planning French Polynesia, November through April is the wet season. Higher humidity, tropical showers. The dry season, the window for ideal conditions, is May through October, so August was excellent. Now, getting to the ship.
Yeah, we arrived in Honolulu to a tsunami warning. Sirens were going off. Everybody's iPhone was buzzing. Not quite the arrival we were looking for.
Yeah. This was a weather-related alert. We were directed to vertically evacuate in our hotel, so floors 6 and above. We sat on the 6th floor, watched the alerts, waited, all clear within about 5 or 6 hours. No tsunami, no structural event. Just weather doing exactly what weather does in the Pacific in the summer. But here's the thing. This is the kind of thing that happens when you travel and when you cruise. The only job in these moments is to stay calm, follow the instructions, be flexible, which we were.
Yeah, 4 days at sea to French Polynesia was a beautiful crossing. 7 days at sea, Seattle to Japan in September.
One milestone worth noting, we crossed the international date line on this cruise, which basically means you lose a day. Tuesday just disappears. This one had the roughest seas of our 5 crossings. The middle of the Pacific in September is not a reliable weather window. For a few days in the center of the passage, conditions were significant. The captain diverted, 250 miles out of the way to navigate us around the worst of it. But we want to say this clearly. This is exactly what good captains do. The Pacific is not something that you argue with. You route around it. We arrived safely and on time. The diversion was not dramatic. It was professional.
Yeah, this Japan cruise was one of our favorites, and we do have playlists for most of these cruises if you want to check out the channel.
A quick pause before we get into planning. If this level of detail is useful to you, the specific, unsponsored, here's what actually happened kind of video, our subscriber count tells YouTube that our content is worth putting in front of more people who would value this information. So subscribe if you learned something new.
So for the transatlantics, the repositioning windows are pretty predictable. March to April, ships move from the Caribbean towards Europe for the summer Mediterranean seasons. October to November, ships return. Those are your windows.
So one thing worth knowing, not every line repositions every ship every year anymore. So Holland America, for example, is keeping a ship in Europe through the winter for Christmas market 2027 itinerary. So not every vessel makes the crossing each season. When you're shopping, confirm whether a specific ship is actually moving or staying. For Transpacifics, the timing varies more by route. Ships generally leave the US West Coast in September and October. For Asia and Australia, then they return in the spring ahead of the Alaska season. It's less predictable than the Atlantic side, but the windows are there.
Yeah, hang on tight for a bit and we're going to show you how to find these cruises.
Yeah.
Repositioning crossings are not peak season. They move these ships between the seasons, which means weather will be variable and sometimes not so good.
This is not the Caribbean. Layers are foundational. A rain jacket is not optional. Closed-toe shoes earn their place in the bag. We've stood on a promenade deck in the North Atlantic in early November and have been grateful for all 3 simultaneously. Packed for the range. Sunny mornings on a crossing can shift to wind and chop by early afternoon.
Yeah, there aren't any port stops to pick up an extra layer, so you pretty much got what you got.
At some point during your planning, have an honest conversation with yourself about motion.
The open ocean moves. It moves more than a sheltered Caribbean cruise, and it moves more often and multiple days in a row.
Yeah. So here's what to have in your kit. There are some prescription medications for motion, the patches that you can get from your doctor. Dramamine is an over-the-counter, and that actually works for us when we're on the rough days.
Yep.
Ginger in chews and teas, capsules, soda. And there's also C-bands are some options for travelers. So just get prepared before you need them. Have them with you, not on day 2, because if you get behind it, it's really hard to start feeling better. So here's our unofficial warning sign that conditions are about to deteriorate. When you see the expensive whiskey bottles wrapped in bubble wrap sitting on the floor of the gift shop, you know you're in for a rough night.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate and 100% what we observed.
Yeah.
Where you sleep matters more in a crossing than any other sailing format.
So lower decks, center of the ship, this is physics, not preference. The further from the vessel's center of gravity, whether you're too high up or too far aft, too far forward, the more motion you're going to feel. So a midship cabin on deck 7 is going to be noticeably more stable than a stern cabin on deck 14 in the same conditions.
Yeah, we book accordingly, so now you have the same information. This section is not here to alarm anyone, it's here to prepare you. Those are 2 different things.
So when you are sailing in the open ocean, 3, 4, 5, 7 days when it comes to Japan, and you're that far from the nearest port, the context for a serious medical event is different than it is at home. So ship medical centers are excellent. They have licensed physicians, they have nurses, they handle a wide range of situations every day. They're well equipped for most of them. But here's the thing, if something serious happens, a cardiac event, a stroke, a trauma requiring a specialist, your options are a diversion to the nearest landmass with a hospital or a Coast Guard doing an air transfer. So both of these options exist. Both have been executed successfully many times, and both are very expensive.
Yeah. So be sure to get travel medical insurance, not just trip interruption coverage, but actual evacuation coverage. It's strongly suggested on a crossing. Read the policy before you board. Know what's covered.
One more note, if a medical situation arises on board, the ship's priorities will shift. Ports may be skipped. Schedules will change. Your flexibility, the same flexibility we've described throughout these 5 sailings, is not just a personality trait that's nice to have on a crossing. It's actually part of the terms of being at sea.
Yeah, details not drama, but those details matter.
Next, not all ships are built for this. The infrastructure decisions that can make or break a crossing. That's next.
So not all ships are equally suited for ocean crossings, and we have some specific opinions on this.
So retractable roofs over the pool deck, solariums, these are not amenity upgrades. We feel they are functional necessities for this format. On a crossing where you'll have multiple days of variable weather, the difference between a ship with covered outdoor space and one without is the difference between a comfortable ship and 2,000 passengers competing for every indoor chair. If every outdoor deck on a ship is fully exposed, no retractable roof, no solarium, no sheltered outdoor area, plan for the interior of that ship to feel crowded on the rough days. And on a crossing, there will be rough days.
Yeah, we've experienced this firsthand.
It was not restful.
No. More venues means more to explore, and on a 7-day crossing, variety matters more than it does on a 3-day Caribbean run.
Different bars, different lounges, specialty restaurants, theater, library, card room. The more distinct spaces a ship has, the more each day can feel different from the one before. A ship with 8 venues functions differently than a ship with 20.
Yeah, size generally matters.
Newer ships tend to be engineered with more sophisticated stabilizer systems, and hull design has advanced meaningfully in the last decade. A larger, newer ship will typically deliver a smoother ride than an older vessel in equivalent conditions. This doesn't mean that you need a megaship. It means that when you're comparing 2 options on a similar route, newer engineering can be a real factor, especially on crossings known for weather variability.
Yeah, coming up, a ship that sits entirely in its own category, and we're booked on her. That's next. There's one ship we have to address separately, not as a comparison to anything else, but it's in a category of its own.
The Cunard Queen Mary II is the last ocean liner currently in service, not a cruise ship that happens to cross the Atlantic. She's an actual ocean liner, designed hull and all for the transatlantic passage between Southampton and New York. She operates that route from April through December, roughly every 2 weeks in each direction.
Yeah, she's built for this route. She's not adapted for it, designed specifically for it.
Yeah. From January through March, she does a world cruise exploration. Here's the honest answer on Queen Mary 2. If you are considering a transatlantic and her schedule aligns with your timing, she deserves her own research conversation. The hull draft, the stabilizers, the engineering, she handles North Atlantic conditions differently than a ship that was originally designed for warm water cruising.
Yeah, Leah and I are booked on her in 2027. It's our transport home from Europe. So we're going to report back with detail.
This is where crossings either win you completely or reveal that they're not your format. Sea days on a crossing are not something you survive. They're something you design. Here's our playbook.
Yeah, so if your ship has an art collection, and many do, pick up the self-guided scavenger hunt on day one.
Every trail on that map takes you somewhere you wouldn't otherwise find on your own. The library tucked behind the card room, the bar on deck 12 with no signage, the staircase with an interesting ceiling installation, the lounge nobody finds until they find it once and return consistently.
Yeah, and you'll know the layout of the ship by day two. It's worth an hour or two on the first morning, but it took us a little bit longer.
A couple of days, actually. Give yourself a simple assignment before the crossing ends. Try every food and music venue on the ship.
Yeah, every bar, every specialty restaurant you can book.
Every live performance, every trivia session, every morning lecture, just at least once. You are at sea for multiple days in a row. There's no reason to eat in the same dining room every evening when there's a jazz trio, one deck up, or a culinary demonstration at 3 p.m.
This is one we feel strongly about.
The quality of the ship's enrichment programming varies significantly across lines and individual sailings. On the better crossings, you'll find subject matter experts, aviation professionals, culinary experts, historians, academics, cultural guides for your destination port, people who have actually done the thing they're discussing. We've had enrichment speakers over the years who we're still thinking about.
Yeah, Ian on the Westerdam was awesome.
Yeah, not because the content was super polished, because it was real. That's what good program produces. When you're comparing ships, pull the enrichment schedule for the crossing if it's available. It is a meaningful differentiator.
The fitness reboot culture is real on crossings.
Morning yoga, cycling classes, the gym at 7 a.m. People commit to routines in a way that doesn't happen on a standard vacation. You have the time, the structure is there, use it. But an honest caveat, on rough sea days, some programming gets rescheduled. A yoga class at a 25-degree roll is not the workout you planned.
The Zumba class on the Sun Princess started out just in the piazza, and as the cruise went on, it went up about 4 more floors.
It's crazy, hundreds of people.
Yeah.
That said, the class pass on a Transatlantic or Transpacific can be an excellent value. You have enough time on board to actually use it.
Yeah, so show up for trivia on day one and find the card tables.
Sit at the port talk even if you've already done your research. Here's the thing. The travelers who get the most out of a crossing arrive intending to meet people. So your group of regulars is on that ship. You just haven't sat down with them yet. A great cruise director multiplies all of this. On our Transpacific to Japan, we had an exceptional team. So majority rules games, deal, no deal, line dancing, themed carnivals across the full 7 days. The sea days were filled before you realized they even needed to be.
Yeah, a great cruise director is worth its weight in gold, but a mediocre one, well, he'll get noticed too.
Drink packages, spa passes, fitness passes, specialty dining packages, the math changes on a crossing. So on a Caribbean itinerary, port days take you off the ship hours at a time. You're not touching the package most of the time. On a crossing with 4 or 5 full sea days, you are on board around the clock. The cost per use calculation is different. So run the numbers against your specific sailing. You may be surprised what comes out ahead.
What nobody actually tells you before you board, the honest list is up next. These are the details that will not appear on any booking confirmation.
By day 3, the fresh produce situation on board begins to deteriorate. The salad bar narrows, fruit options thin, berries tend to disappear first.
Yeah, this is not really a complaint, but it's just logistics.
A ship loads what it can carry for a multi-day crossing. The solution, whatever you love most at the buffet, lean into it on the first few days. If you have a balcony cabin, and we love a balcony cabin on a crossing, here is what will happen over the first few days. The glass develops a salt film. The furniture feels slightly tacky. The rail has a fine coating on it.
Yeah, this is just the ocean doing what the ocean does, but it'll get cleaned up when you get to port.
Exclusive outdoor spaces, so Haven, Sun Deck, Celebrity Retreat, MSC Yacht Club, even Princess Sanctuary, to name a few, can be unavailable for multiple consecutive days when weather conditions require it. Pool decks close, promenade decks close. This is safety, not an oversight. If you upgraded specifically for open air deck access, know that on a crossing in variable conditions, the space may be closed more days than it is open.
Yeah, it's worth factoring into your cabin and package decisions before you book. Walking a ship's hallway when the ship is on a roll is a learned skill.
Handrails exist for a reason. On the rougher days, experienced cruisers slow down and use them. If you have mobility considerations, build this into your cabin selection. Shorter distances to elevators, central location, midship placement. Captains will ask you to skip the high heels, ladies, and choose sensible shoes when conditions are rough.
Many ships will now offer Starlink connectivity, and it's a real improvement over the satellites of a few years ago.
But here's the honest answer. It is still satellite internet shared with every other passenger on board, all of whom are connected round the clock because there's nowhere else to be. The quality depends significantly on the bandwidth plan the cruise line purchased. We've talked about this in our other videos. Some lines have invested in capacity, others have the minimum. If connectivity is critical to you, ask before booking. And consider a few days at sea with no land in sight, somewhere disconnected from the feed. For most travelers who choose crossings, that's not a problem. It's part of the appeal.
This one is specific, and we're not going to soften it.
If you are a blood donor, make sure you have donated within the past 6 months before you're sailing and carry your Red Cross donor card or have the app with your card on your phone. We have been on multiple crossings where there was a ship-wide request for blood donor for a medical emergency. It happens. The crew takes it very seriously. The outcome can depend on who is on board and whether they come prepared. If you have that card, it has real value to someone on that ship, so carry it.
Yeah, this is one of those things that will stay with you even after the crossing.
Next, how to actually find one of these sailings. We use a specific tool, and we're going to show you how. What we like specifically about CruisePlum is that it was built for this type of sailing. This is the tool that we use to find Transatlantics and Transpacifics. It surfaces them as you would not find them easily on a standard cruise line website, and then you can compare multiple lines in a single view. So let me show you how we do it. First of all, we are just going to do a standard search. You do not have to log in, by the way. Start searching. How many passengers? United States or Canada? And for this search, I'm just going to do one row per cruise because there will be quite a few. You don't want to sort through all that data. All right, so what I do is I go to the monthly calendar. I'm going to select 2027, and I know that I want to look at the transatlantics that are going to the Caribbean. So I'm going to mark these 3 months, and then I'm going to look at 2028 and catch the ones going back to Europe. Now you'll notice I've not chosen February, although there are some during that date. I'm trying to avoid the colder weather. So you have that option to do that. Next step, I am going to select region. This is important. If you scroll down here, you will see Transatlantics, Transpacifics. Lastly, I'm going to do one small thing here, not these lines. I'm going to remove Cunard because of the Queen Mary that goes back and forth. It just removes some of the noise. Now, if you are interested in the Queen Mary, leave that on there. But as you can see, you now have a list. So let's Seabourn Quest, Copenhagen to Montreal, 24 days. You get the pricing, and you can click this information button. What I'm going to do, just to make it simple, so I'm going to select, go to lines, which means include these, and I'm just going to narrow it down to what Azamara has to offer. As you can see, the Quest, which she'll be newly refurbished by that time, actually early 2027, here is a 12-day Miami to Lisbon, or you can stay on to Barcelona. So let's just take a look at this one. If I look at more info, scroll down here a little bit, you're able to see the price for an inside cabin, ocean view, balcony, etc., all the way up to their suite. Great information, and look at the price per person per day. And then if you scroll down just a little bit further, you can see price history. You can definitely keep an eye on this. And then your itinerary. spelled out where you're going to stop, as well as information about the ship itself. This is the standard information on CruisePlum, self-service laundry, etc., fitness centers, all of the things that the ship has to offer. So this is the way that we look for these. Hopefully this is helpful to you.
So who's this for? Here's the honest answer, and we mean it in every direction. Choose an ocean crossing if
you're a flexible traveler who finds real pleasure in the journey itself, not just the destination. You want days that are unhurried, long meals, afternoon lectures, evenings where you're not rushing around towards anything. You're curious about what it actually feels like to have nothing but horizon in every direction, and that is interesting rather than alarming. You want the value proposition of a repositioning sailing, and you're willing to plan around the seasonal windows. And you've done the Caribbean, you've done the Mediterranean, and you want something that stays with you differently.
Yeah, but give it a pass for now if
flexibility is difficult for you. Weather will change the plan. Ports will be skipped. It will happen. You have an untreated serious sensitivity to motion. Do the medical preparation first, then revisit. You're booking primarily for premium outdoor deck access. That deck may be closed for stretches of days. The idea of being several days from port with limited emergency medical access creates anxiety rather than just a planning fact.
And here's where we land on all 5 of ours. We would definitely do them all again.
Even the Celebrity eastbound with the 5-hour clock shift and the cool April arrival in Greece, if we needed to get to Greece. What we'd do differently is simply know, going in, what we were walking into. As always, if there is anything that we've missed, or if you have any advice to give on Transatlantics or Transpacifics, please leave your advice in the comments below. We read every single one, and it's super helpful to everyone else in this community. Thank you.
That's what this video is. Details, not drama.
Safe travels, and we'll see you on the next one.